The TERRIOFit challenge tomorrow never comes. I'm Tim Terrio, and I appreciate you guys being here, as I said. So the important thing is, as we've said before, mindfulness is the big thing we talk about all the time. So hopefully you guys are getting the hang of this whole mindfulness stuff, but it's really the non-judgmental awareness of what is happening in the present moment. And with that, it's really just the important part of that is the non-judgmental aspect. So, or just the awareness of self. But it's really just paying attention to what's going on. People walk around in a constant state of automatic pilot, and they're not really aware of where they're going, what's going on, what they're eating, and what they're working on. So this is just an awareness of starting to pay attention to what we're actually doing. And the aspects of mindfulness go into not only nutrition and eating and exercise, we've talked about this in the past, but paying attention to what we're actually putting into our body. What does it taste like? How much are we eating? As I've said, there's a lot of research about the fact that we don't have any idea how much food we're putting into our body. And then with exercise and activity, paying attention to what we're trying to accomplish. Hopefully by now you've learned the heart rate zones, and you're paying attention to how hard you're working and staying in that zone. And of course, we're going through the book, The Healthy Family Evolution, that I wrote. We'll be going through a couple chapters or steps per week. It's written in steps so that it's not like forcing people to read it overall, but just step by step going through the process. And it's really important as you do it. There's exercises built in there that get you thinking along those lines. So make sure that you are doing that and reading along. So 1 to 2 steps a week. In the last post, I talked about the obstacles that get in our way and the use of accountability partners, that having somebody to work out with makes it much more successful. And that includes now the groups that you've been put in or the people that you're working out with. If you don't have somebody coming with you, then find some of those people in the group that can be your accountability partner. It's just somebody to report that you know you're going to go see there. One of the key things that we always laugh about is that the best way of being accountable is being the person with the key. So if you're the person that's got to go open the place up, then you're on the hook to go be there for everybody else. But over the past several years, I've been working out with the same couple guys, and on those mornings when I don't really feel like going, I know they're going to be there, so it gets me there when I know that they're going to be there. So, and that's the idea of the accountability partner, somebody that you know, well, they're going to be there, so they're going to be there waiting for me, so I better go. It's just one of those extra little motivational pieces, because there's going to be obstacles in the pathway as you're making these changes, and that some of them are intentional and some of them are unintentional. It can be ourselves and what we think about ourselves, our past history. It can be our friends and relatives, families that either intentionally or unintentionally kind of say things that demotivate us. So we got to be on high alert for those. This is a picture we had taken. It's in the book later on, but it's just another representation of our elephant wanting to make a trip to the goals, or our castle, or it's the goals, and everything that's in the way. We've got a variety of different things that can stop us. Some of them are fears we have. Some of them is thinking a little too much, or again, it's mostly fear-based. And whenever we have fear, we either try to control it or avoid it. And in this case, we need to make sure that we understand it and or just mindful of what's going to get in our way. So we asked you in the book to take a personal inventory of your reasons, excuses, stories, and justifications. And these all come from the past, and we've all been on this journey, and there's been twists and turns and flips and unexpected things that happen to us in life. We're not doing this to dwell on it. We're just doing it for mindfulness, that we want to be aware of those things, because we want to know when something's blocking your path. Is it real, or is it something popping up in your subconscious? Is it really that you don't want to do it, or is it a fear, an old fear that's saying, hey, don't do this? And just being aware of why that is. Is it an excuse popping up, or is it that that really isn't the best thing for you to do at that time? So in one of the steps, I think it's step 4, we talk about doing a time audit or time waster audit. So number one excuse for people not exercising is there's not enough time. So what we ask you to do here is to chart how much time you spend each day watching TV, videos, or movies. How much time do you spend a day on Facebook or other social media aspects? How much time do you spend doing video games? Email and text is another big time taker. Our smartphones, which probably aren't so smart, but they do draw our attention. So there's all the apps and games and news feeds and emails and texts. We're all constantly plugged in. And then also reading books. And then anything else that might pop up that you spend time doing. Of course, there's work. But the whole premise is we're all born with the same 24 hours. It's what do we do with that time? And now, hopefully 8 hours of it is sleeping so that you're getting enough rest. But then there's also time, other times that you need to, obviously work. But what else is there out there that takes your time? Because we all know we're just juggling time all the time. So this is just, again, it's a mindfulness or awareness of how much time actually slips away as we're doing these things. Because Pareto's Principle, if you haven't heard of Pareto's Principle, it's one of the big things I write about in both books, because I think it's one of the keys of understanding our time. And it's the 80-20 rule, if you don't know it as Pareto's Principle. Or basically, it's the law of the vital few. Basically, that 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. And some people equate it to the 90-10 rule, that 90% of what we accomplish really comes down to about 10%. There's a book out now called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and he uses this principle as the whole idea of the book, that if the whole world is on 90-10, you can actually produce a full week's productivity in 4 hours, while everybody else is using 40 hours because they're filling their time with other stuff. So if 90% of our results come from 10% of our efforts, if we can learn that and start to apply that, we know that we can invest small amounts of time, an hour here and there, to our activity and fitness level and actually get the results we're looking for and be more productive on the other sides too. There's also Parkinson's law. This is actually one of my favorite laws. It was Pareto was an economist that came up with it, and it applied across Parkinson. It was not Parkinson's disease, but he came up with this idea that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So in other words, with Parkinson's law, he's talking about why is it that when something comes up that we absolutely have to get done, we can get it done. Whereas other times we can be given a long period of time and we just don't seem to be able to get the work done. I think the bigger impact, though, from us now is that as we go to work, it's easy to fill your day with emails, social media, meetings, but are they productive? Are they really getting done what you want to get done, or is it just filling time? Because if you can put these two principles together, if you put Pareto's principle together with Parkinson's, and you know that 90% of what I need to get done, I can get in 10% of my time, all of a sudden I free up a lot more time. So Parkinson's is actually the reverse of Pareto, saying if you aren't aware of that, your time will fill up. You'll be busy, but you won't necessarily be productive in trying to accomplish what you're doing.